another live stream. We are going to be breaking down some videos, playing some video games, having a grand old time. Oh, a shock subreddit. Oh, was it the one where there was a 50% chance it would be like a wholesome cat gif and a 50% chance that it would be like some super toxic like gore thing or whatever? Yeah. Yeah, that was, I mean, it's really sad that basically it's kind of weird that it's like you have Reddit, and when Reddit needed to become advertiser friendly because it wasn't making enough money or investors wanted to make more money, they had to basically revamp the whole platform. If you ever want to see something really interesting and a little depressing, um, look at the difference between the front page hot, which is what Reddit curates that it thinks you need to see, versus the front page top, which is the actual top voted front page posts. And you see they are really different, very, very different, right? And what's interesting is the most upvoted posts generally are way less like outrage porn. They're way less like outrage oriented. They're way less. In fact, we could just do it, right? Let me just do it in incognito so you guys don't see my Reddit username, right? I mean, you could probably figure it out, but I don't need a bunch of spam messages and shit. Okay. All right. So here we go. Let's react to the Reddit front page bullshit stuff changes. Okay, so like we talked about, Reddit front page right here. This is when our average user, we're in incognito mode, so I'm not even logged into an account. It's just logged in. It's like, hey, this is what it is. What is it? What do we have? Well, this is what's hot, what Reddit deems we need to see. So this is crime news. 17 LA gangs sent out crews to rob and follow the city's wealthiest. Right? This is like, this literally could be a Daily Mail headline for how like clickbaity, like designed to sow fear, like outrage headline. Yeah. Okay, here's one. Crappy design, a faucet turning itself on and off. Okay, cool. What is something that was acceptable 100 years ago, which is unacceptable today? Okay. Not going to sort that by controversial. What was the most passive-aggressive email you received from a professor? Kremlin leader captures Putin ally. Kremlin leaves captured Putin ally Victor out to dry, saying Russia doesn't want to exchange prisoners. Ron DeSantis personally mapped Florida congressional districts. The frightening visage of Donatella Versace. And people who watch The Matrix. Do you have fond memories about when you first saw it? And then, yeah, Roman Polanski getting a standing ovation, not present as he was in France to avoid sentencing for child molestation. What a class act. Hey, nice to Shangen for Freud. Welcome. It's going good. I'm just comparing the brilliance of what the corporatization of Reddit a little bit, because I think it's worth pointing out, right? But none of these things that we looked at, they're just what kind of Reddit wants you to see, what it thinks is going to get and hold your attention, and also maybe produce some sort of like outlook, right? Because a lot of these things will adjust your outlook sort of on the world, right? Opening with a negative story about the rise of crime, something poorly made, right, in like a corporate bathroom, reminding us of how much things have changed from yesterday to today, professor being a jerk, right, Putin and Russia betraying some of theirs, a very partisan article, which I'm not saying it's not true, seems like it'd be true, but it's, Reddit has chosen to put this very partisan article high up on their hot list. Now let's look at the top upvoted things today, right? A Tesla Model 3 stopping itself, right? Tesla fanboys. Damn, that is lightning fast. I mean, that's how fast computers are, man. It's like the bots in TF2, dude. Like, you would want them on your team, right? Next, you've got an ad, and then A squirrel making a home outside a window. And then the family moves in. See, why can't I get more of that content? Isn't it interesting that more people want that content than want the shocker content? Found this on RWTF, but it's a cat coming to say hello, right? This is the sort of wholesome oh, it's a cat that steals hats. Okay, that's pretty cool, right? Well, Tarun, what we're doing is we're taking a look at the difference between what people upvote to the front page of Reddit, what has the highest upvotes, and what Reddit puts on their own front post under hot, right? And you notice that, right, this is illustrating different frequencies and waves and the way the balls sort of, despite all being patterns, operate in kind of a random way. Right? That's fun. Next level, people having fun in a kebab shop. Look at how much more wholesome people want. Someone who thought a picture of themselves looked pretty badass. Good for them, right? Going to a water park when you can't swim. Huh. That's so scary. Oh my God, that would be so terrifying. Also, why? Why would you do that? That's so dumb. Anyway, the point that I'm trying to make, look at this, a dog getting saved by a man. The point of all this is that there's a tremendous difference between the most upvoted posts on Reddit, the things that you really want, and hyper partisan content. Right. And okay, so Telrun's arguing that hot may be just high engagement, but that's not true. Look, this is top most upvoted stuff, right? It's literally this top post today represent today's most engaged with content, right? So then you gotta ask yourself, what hot everywhere, hot in the United States, even more partisan, right? Warren Eichen, right? This is super partisan, except for one baseball one. Yep. Oh, okay. Phew, I thought I couldn't have that. This is an Easter celebration in Spain. It's not what you think it is, right? But yeah, this is all partisan content. Why? Yeah. I mean, this is what they want new viewers of their site to see. Yeah, very, very, very interesting to me. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a bad thing, right? When people talk about like the old internet or the better internet, that's a lot more what it was. It was cat videos and interesting news. So then you got to ask yourself, like, why do we need social media to push it so hard? Um, I'm trying to probably stop the stream element thing from auto doing, but um, yeah, I don't know. It's just, yeah, the level of deliberate polarization. Like I've come to realize that if you put, it's like in the military, right? If you wanted to influence what the commander thought, right, the battalion commander, you had to influence his S3 or his XO, because the XO controlled who got what information went to the commander. And so if you know that your commander is a basically smart guy, then all you have to do is control the input of information, and you'll lead him to conclude things that you want him to. For example, if you decide that you're going to do maintenance reports, and you're going to you're going to consolidate them, right? In such a way that it just makes all your equipment look really poorly maintained, and then you code them red in such a way that everything below 40% is red. Then all of a sudden you can convince your commander, wow, we're doing a terrible job on maintenance. When in fact, if you change the way images, the graphs are displayed, you can make it look like we're doing a really good job on maintenance. It's just about how it's presented. So, if you can control that with leadership, which is a time-honored tradition, you could definitely control it with people. And that's sort of what keeps worries me a little bit, is that if you have the primary information sources of people being manipulatable algorithms or just subjective stuff, right, then you can change people's political beliefs, or you can change other things about the way they see the world as being fair or unfair, as being dangerous or safe. You can convince them that other people are, a threat or victims, right? You can really change the way people's outlook. And it's, again, not hard to do if you control the levers of how large amounts of people get their information. Even stuff that is not true can still be just being able to communicate it to someone, just trying to message it, right? That's why the Soviets would always have their Pravda, their propaganda newspaper, is not because people believed what was in Pravda was true. It was just so effective to constantly pump out information that people didn't really trust. So, because just volume alone convinced enough people that it could be true, right? And I mean, it's one of the things that sort of bothers me as someone who did in my previous job a lot of government reporting, was that we would strive to produce very extremely fact-based reporting, sometimes overly fact-based, right? We were overly correct in ways that an average reader couldn't understand the core message, I thought. But the problem, that what was fascinating is to see, once it would get published, it would sometimes, if it was aligned with the news cycle, the news outlets would try to publish it and try to summarize our findings. And I would say a third couldn't seem to grasp cause and effect. They would muddle causes and effects together. Another third would misreport entirely, would either misreport the actual findings as saying something we didn't say, or would remove essential context to understanding it. They would clip out small quotes that, without context, didn't make any sense. To the point where I would read their summaries of my own report and I would be unable to describe what the report actually said. Or they would find random one-off events and report on those instead of reporting on the core finding, right? So just there appeared to be no reading comprehension taking place at all. And then maybe a third, and it was never like there was good outlets, right? But a third would actually summarize the core point of the report or the article in their article. And the weird thing is, getting it right was just random. It was like the monkeys on a keyboard. I've seen ultra conservative outlets nail our reports. I've seen borderline conspiracy, left-wing conspiracy theory websites nail our reports, get the exact core message just right. I've seen dead center mainstream reporting get our reports just right. And I've seen every one of them get it wrong. And so it's after that experience taught me that, other than as an extremely loose summary of events, or reporting facts that are generally accepted as true, like Russia has invaded Ukraine, right? Beyond that, I treat a lot of it with skepticism. Broad strokes, is Russia winning or losing in Ukraine, right? Again, you can sort of trust the broad strokes to be true. But in terms of understanding causality, and I don't even fault news outlets. It's if you're a news outlet, you have to compete with YouTube. Like, you have to compete with the trashiest YouTuber, right? You have to compete with the outrage porn. You have to compete with Twitter, who's making just like not bound by journalistic ethics, who, you know, they're going to sit there and be like, accuse anyone of anything, right? And so they have to compete with that. And one, journalism doesn't make that much money. So like, it used to be that you would be like, hey, I have my master's in journalism from Columbia and 20 years in the newspaper business, like, and maybe you are like, oh, a prestige like war reporter, right? And that you know how to like get facts and tease out the truth and know the difference between a bullshitter and a truth teller. And like, but in this day and age, those guys, the average journalist is making like maybe $40,000 a year, maybe. They'll never retire. They probably don't have a retirement at all. It's a miracle they can make rent in some of the cities. And so and the pressure to produce constant, an unending stream of content is immense. And so I think the combination of those pressures mean that people who are expected to produce such a high volume of articles that they can't be bothered to do anything beyond a surface level understanding of any of the issues they're facing. And they can't really, anyone, I don't want to say with half a brain, but no one's going to be there for a long period of time to gain that expertise, because they're going to get burned out. They're going to get run out. They're going to make more as a bartender or a waiter at their lunch spot than they do working for, you know, the Times or the Post or another major outlet. And so, yeah, I don't know. I don't fault them. I don't fault the writers, but I fault the journalism industry for not doing what it does best, which is sitting there and providing people a fair and neutral source of information, and then allowing them to make decisions about the world based on that. And there's no unbiased, right? Even curating information is going to create bias, but you can do better, right? That doesn't mean we don't try. That's like being like, well, we can't ever be a nonpartisan news source, so why don't we just become the most ultra partisan news source of all, right? You're like, that's not right. Like, yeah, you try your absolute best to be straight down the middle, and you're right. Sometimes you show a little bias, but like, you try to correct it as much as possible, right? That's what good journalists do. Anyway, that's my problem. Yeah. Icarus raised a good point. Yeah. I mean, you wonder in the past how much reporting was inaccurate, but just never corrected, because the truth of what happens in these places just never gets out, right? The eyewitnesses. I mean, look at how many eyewitnesses say crazy things now that aren't true, right? Where they're just say, oh, I saw X, Y, and Z, and then it turns out A, B, and C was what really happened. So eyewitnesses get it wrong all the time. News reports get it wrong all the time. You're like, if it wasn't for video recording of literally everything, look at how little we know, right? Like, look at how much we know because we happen to have video pointed at a lot of historic events.
So I said, no, it was supposed to be my pentakill. Why did you do that to me? I killed, I know, 1, 2, 3 for champions.